Hi everybody, my name is Sensei Eddie, and today I'm going to be going through nunchucks with you guys. It's one of the key components of our Ninja Masters program. And before we even get started in learning how to use this amazing self-defense weapon, we're actually going to go through some little things, some history about it, so you guys understand a little bit more about nunchucks and where it fits into everything, why we're going to learn to use it. And so let's get started. So the first thing is, when we are starting off with our nunchucks, if we are kneeling, as we always do at the start of our classes and when we're training, this is called the Seiza position, which just means kneel in Japanese. And I want to go through with you guys a few things about our nunchucks. First of all, we would keep them on our right-hand side and we would place them together like this. We won't have them strewn about. We want to respect the weapon, so we're going to keep it next to us like that together. And for today's lesson, I'm going to show you guys that this is a traditional nunchuck. So if you have a look at it, and I'll take it up close for you guys, you'll see that it is actually wooden and it has got a sort of hexagonal pattern to that wood for grip. And you'll notice as well that there is a string. That string keeps it silent as we use it. So when we're using that nunchuck, it's a bit of a stealth weapon, but it's also something we can easily conceal, and so it's good for self-defense in that sense, and it's very good for using in close quarters because you're not hitting walls if you have to use it, if you're using it as a self-defense weapon inside or in a space like around trees or forest or wherever. Also, that is the traditional way, and see how that is quite short. It means that we could do things like choke an opponent or use it silently. Right? Now, what does nunchuck mean? Really, it means a portable staff. So it's 2 foot long, two and a bit. Each one of these would be 12 inches, and you've got about a half foot there, another 12 inches. And with your arm length, that will make it at its peak about the same height that you are, which is like your bow staff or your bow, right? So bow and staff mean the same thing. A bow is just a piece of, basically a stick, long stick, that's about your height a little bit more. And so traditionally, these would be about 2.5 feet. Your arm would be about 2.5 feet. And most people back in the day were about 5 foot tall, so it's about the same length as that bow staff, which means it is essentially a portable staff that allows you a lot of reach like that. It is a devastating weapon, so we're very careful when we use it, and also very, very good for self-defense, especially against something like knives, because it can be very accurate, and you can hit a knife out of the hand, and those types of things. So that is why there's a bit of a background on nunchucks, and very effective. People underestimate how effective they are. However, as a tool, it can be easy to hit ourselves with them as we're swinging them around. So we have to get good at using them so we're not hurting ourselves. And that means that really for us within martial arts training, because we're not really intending to use this as a weapon at any point, or hopefully not, we're really learning focus, right? And so I often tell the kids in our classes, why does Michelangelo and the Ninja Turtles use the nunchucks? And the reason is because Splinter wants him to learn focus, because he's a little bit cool, he's a little bit loose, and these you cannot use if you're not focused, because you will hurt yourself, you will hit yourself. Right? And consequently, we use training nunchucks for our kids. So that is a traditional pair handed down to me by my brother, so it's a bit special to me. And this one here, this is our training nunchaku. These ones have a bit of a softer covering to them. They're rubber, they grip well, they have chain, so we can get used to using a chain nunchuck, which is more like a modern one. And in China, they had chains as well. In Japan, they tended to use string as well. But these are a great training tool. If we do hit ourselves with them, not going to hurt too much, but you will feel it. So it will be a self-learning tool. Will hurt if someone hits themselves in the head with it, but not too bad. And we can hear them, so we can hear where we're going wrong. If we spin them too hard or whatever we're doing, helps me as a training tool with the kids. Got a lot of grip here, and we have these in red and blue. So the kids will go red team or blue team, and I always ask them when they start their Ninja Masters which team they want to go, so it's a bit of fun as well. Got our dragons on there to show that it's a weapon that originates in China. This one, this is a more modern actual self-defense tool weapon as a nunchuck. You could use this as a weapon. Heavy, it's hard, it does have a plastic coating, but it's very heavy on the inside, wooden on the inside. We've got our chain string that's short, so we could still do things like a choke with them if we wanted to, but we won't do that with kids. And generally speaking, there's two different ways, the thoughts of school with nunchucks. One is to hold them at the end so you have maximum reach, right? That comes from a very self-defense based approach, and we certainly do that. However, with little kids, they'll tend to hit the ground a lot, and they'll hit themselves more if they do that. And when we're changing hands, if they're holding it at the end, they'll come over and hurt themselves. So generally, as we start, we will tend to have them hold their nunchucks 2 inches from the top end, basically, right up near the chain. So that's where we'll hold them. We'll cover that in a little bit more depth later why. But really the reason why is because that is where they're going to be able to use it without hurting themselves with the ends, right? They also won't hit the ground as much. Later on, they can adjust. If they want to strike out at a distance, they can adjust to the middle, or if they've got something at a further distance, they can use the end. But in training, generally, we're not going to be doing too much of holding it at the end. It's also a safety thing. It's much more safe to hold at the end at the top because they will not slide off it all the way to the end if they do slide. These have like a little bit of grip on them, you can see there. Hope you guys can see that. But this is a devastating weapon. My favorite weapon of choice for self-defense in the home. Also legal to have, but you wouldn't want to use one. Honestly, I would always say call the police first or try and avoid any altercation. So we're not really teaching our children here to actually use these as a self-defense weapon. Although we're teaching them the skill of that, we would discourage them actually trying to use these. And we actually have a rule within Ninja Masters that no one is allowed to take their nunchucks outside of their house unless it is to class. So as parents, I would like you guys to enforce that rule, and hopefully no one ever takes them to school or nothing like that. Unless supervised, then we can do an exhibition sometime or something like that. Now, when we're starting off with our nunchucks and we're going to seiza, we sit with our hands on our laps. And we bring our nunchucks, or use a training pair, to the front, do our bows. After that, we're going to stand up, have them by our sides, bow in. We'll move our feet into a 45-degree position. This first stance is called tension stance, but for our Ninja Masters we can tell them high socket arch. And it's because the top of our foot is the high socket, or the instep. And then when we do that, we call it with our kids a tension stance. They'll move into our feet being in a 45 degrees. This is called a musubi arch. And they'll bring their nunchucks up, and as they open them up, step out to the left, and there they are holding those nunchucks, and that is our starting position. From there, we will generally go into a block, and the way we do that block is we turn our hand on the inside of the side we want to go to. So we're there, turning it into the inside and out there, and the other one will just follow under. Right? And that is our blocking starting position. Usually on the right or left hand, doesn't really matter, but usually on the right hand we'll start blocking. And we can then, from there, swap over and do change. So we're going to learn how to do some of these things. We can strike diagonally, and we can recoil and change over. Right? So we're going to learn how to do all of that in a second. And I'm going to break that down into different lessons for you guys, but that is the basis of a nunchuck. It's a 2-foot portable staff that we can use to devastating effect. Great self-defense weapon. More importantly, the best thing possible to teach your kids. Focus while training alone.